Egypt is a country that still exists today, situated in northeastern Africa. But what we call ancient Egypt is a civilization that started more than 5,000 years ago and lasted for approximately 3,000 years. Its origins commences with Pharaoh Nile, also known as a Scorpion King, who in 3200 BC funded this country at the Nile's bank. The River Nile is the largest river in Africa and was the most important existing thing for Egyptians since they depended on its water to survive. Their whole civilization and cities rose from the river's bank. The Nile was so important because Egypt is a country surrounded by desert and the cultivations could only take place at its shores. But it wasn't only used for agriculture. The river was also used to fish and hunt. They also used it as a great road to transport goods or large stone blocks used for their constructions. All of this was why the Nile was considered to be a god. Actually, ancient Egyptians had hundreds of gods. Some had a human's body and an animal's head, like goddess Bastet, who had a lion's head, or god Anubis and his jackal head. But the most important of all was Ra, god of sun, who had a falcon's head. The pharaohs were ancient Egypt's kings. There were many pharaohs over 3,000 years, but the most famous one was Tutankhamun. Ancient Egyptians believed in life after death, and therefore they were buried with their belongings, furniture, vases, clothes, and even food. They believed that this way these things could be used in the next life. As pharaohs had the greatest power, they wanted to have the best tombs, and they got them. These tremendous pyramids were built for pharaohs' tombs. Inside them, there are many tunnels, chambers, and secret passageways. When they died, pharaohs and some noblemen's bodies were mummified to preserve their bodies after death. These are the famous mummies. Mummies were placed in a sarcophagus, luxurious coffins that were covered in beautiful drawings and hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics were the mysterious Egyptian writings. Their meaning was a mystery for thousands of years, but thanks to archaeologists, we can translate them and partly understand what they want to say. As you already know, ancient Egyptians believed in life after death. And that's why they built the pyramids, which were the pharaohs' tombs. During their construction, there were thousands of workers for a very long time. Before, we believed that they were built by slaves. But thanks to archaeologists' work, we know that they were built by citizens that worked for salt, wheat, or barley. These workers were organised and directed by architects and engineers that made sure everything was calculated and done properly. Today, we see that pyramids are old, but when they had just been built, they were covered in beautiful white limestone. And the tip of the pyramid was golden. I'm sure they were astonishing. Inside the pyramids, there are tunnels, chambers, and secret passageways. And this was where they left the pharaohs' mummified bodies. But do you know what a mummy is? A mummy is a person's or animal's body that is kept after death. Ancient Egyptians believed in life after death, so they wanted to preserve their bodies, but it was a very expensive process, done only by pharaohs and some noblemen. The mummification process took 70 days. First, the body was washed, and all its interior organs, except the heart, were removed. Then, the body was filled with linen and covered in salt for about 50 days. After this time, the body was wrapped in bandages and placed in a luxurious sarcophagus. Thanks to this mummification process, many mummies are in perfect state today and have allowed us to learn many things about ancient Egypt.
Did you know that the toothbrush, toothpaste, and many other things we still use today were invented by the ancient Egyptians? The Egyptians gave great importance to personal hygiene and aesthetics. This is why they invented and used domestic utensils that we still use today, such as combs, scissors, wigs, makeup, deodorants, and as we said before, toothbrush and toothpaste. They were so boastful that instead of putting perfume on their skin, ancient Egyptian women wore it on their heads in the form of a perfumed comb, a bit like a hat. But they not only invented things related to aesthetics and hygiene. The key and the lock, something fundamental for the security of our homes and properties, were also the invention of the wonderful Egyptians. Did you know that they loved their pets so much that when they died, they mummified them? Dogs and cats were the most common pets in ancient Egypt. The Egyptians loved their pets so much that, according to Herodotus, a Greek historian, when their most beloved pets died, the Egyptians shaved all their hair, including their eyebrows and heads. Such was the love they felt for their pets that in some cases they mummified them and put them in their own tombs. Now this really is loving till death. Did you know that the Egyptians loved board games? After their daily chores, the Egyptians would relax by playing board games. According to historians, the most popular was a game called Senet, which was played on a board similar to chess. There are paintings depicting Queen Nefertiti playing Senet, and in the tombs of some pharaohs, such as Tutankhamun, this board game has been found. It appears that the ancient Egyptians were not only proud people, but also very playful. Bye, friends!